Hey mamas, it's Kristen Noel. I'm popping in here with my beautiful team member, Master Coach JoeYoung, and we are here live right after class with our after class musings. And once again, it was an incredibly moving, transformative, beautiful, amazing class with our mamas. Yesterday, I dove in with a smaller group into a mini training about the talk, the dreaded talk about when we let our spouses know we want a divorce. And that was a really big reminder for me that just of the importance of communication in all aspects, in divorce or in life. So today we dove even further into the art of conscious communication during divorce because there's so many areas. Well, number one, the surprising one is the self-talk. So there's the self-talk, there's the communication with your attorney, there's the communication with your kids, there's the communication with preparing for court, there's the communication with family, friends, coworkers, community. There's a lot. So it's
Mm.
actually a really important topic. It was really meaty. We actually got off and said like, whoa, that was a lot. We unpacked a lot. We probably could have turned each and every one of those into a class. But we did, some broad strokes today I thought were really helpful. And it was just such a good reminder, right? That
Yeah, it really was. And I loved how you started it off with really the overarching theme of, you know, less is more when it comes to communication
Mhm.
during this time, not over communicating. And it's often hard because sometimes with these mamas, they're finally finding their voice, right? They're finally giving themselves permission to speak up, to have opinions in a lot of cases. And so just being discerning about is what I'm saying, first of all, is it important? Second of all, what's the intention behind it? And I
Mhm.
loved that.
Mhm.
Knowing why you're communicating something and what the goal is, and not letting emotions get into the mix.
Listen, we've all been there, right? So we have all let regrettable words fall from our lips. And we know what happens. It just creates more pollution, creates more chaos. And God only knows we don't need any more chaos in divorce. So clearly, yes, we know we're standing at a really emotional time. We're really triggered. We're really vulnerable. We're feeling all the feelings. There's a lot of fear. There's just a lot coming up. So it's very easy to react. Joe keeps us anchored in our bodies, keeps us anchored in our nervous systems so that we're
Mhm.
aware. We're aware of how something is making us feel. And then what can we do with it if we don't like how we're feeling in our body? What can we do to get grounded, to get into a better space so that we can have these conversations? And one of the biggest things that we always remind mamas is that taking care of yourself is taking care of your kids, is taking care of your divorce, is taking care of your future. Like it's not an afterthought. So you don't need to create any more chaos. You don't need to have conversations that are going to be dramatic and just cause more pollution in your life. So we broke it down and yeah, less is more. And in the beginning, like I always joke, this is like learning to flex a new muscle when the muscle feels like a limp noodle right now. It's really like, okay, I'm gonna keep and we had a lot of fun with it. Listen, you got to feel the feels, right? Get it out. I always say, all right, when it comes to let's just talk about the talk, for example, get it out on paper, write it out, spew it, and then pretend you're a little teacher and go in there with a little red red pen and decide, all right, like what are the salient points here? Like what's going to really be helpful in achieving my goal? Is this just me spewing venom? Is this just me responding? Is this me just being snarky? Is this just, listen, and as Joe always tells us, we got to get our feelings out, but
Mhm.
not in this realm, okay? Get it out with your best friend. Get it out with your
Yeah.
coach, you know?
Yes. So I have 2 points to make there. First of all, one of the things that you said today was get it out, but don't press send. And I thought that's brilliant because
That's a
it's
story of
not
my life.
only Yeah, well, it's not only like legitimately type it out, say everything you want to say, but do not hit that send button until you've gone back and done the work to go, where
Hmm.
is there emotion in this? Where
Hmm.
am I getting, where am I spewing? Where am I being emotional where I don't need to be? And how can I whittle that down and be really clear so that when I hit that send button, it's something I can be proud of, right? Like
Hmm.
that's huge. But not only that way, but it's also in real life conversations, right? We need to get things out of our body. We have to feel the feelings. Otherwise, it just congests and gets piled up and comes out sideways. So feel it, yes, but don't press send onto someone else. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
do your editing, do your releasing, all of that, but don't press send. So I loved that for both of those reasons.
Yeah.
And secondly, I want to say that I feel like that this is one of the biggest advantages and benefits of being in our inner circle is that you get a place to do all of that. Because if you do all of that with your attorney is going to be going cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching,
Hmm.
right? I'll sit here and listen to you get all of that out and figure it all out because they get to charge you more.
Hmm.
That's the beautiful part here is we get to provide a space for them to flush things out, for them to discuss things, to hear from each other, what works, what doesn't, so that when they get to bring stuff to their attorney, they're only bringing what's legal. What do I need
Right.
legal advice with?
Right. Thank you for bringing that in. It's so true. That group, honestly, those cohorts, I call them sacred spaces all the time, but they get juicier and juicier and more sacred because as women form bonds and women process and women show up for each other, oh my God, fierce mama bears protecting each other, coming up with solutions, even offering to you need something, I'll be there, I'll call, da da da. I love what happens, and thank you for bringing in the point about the attorney as well, because that is one of the areas when we get while we're there to deal with all of the emotions because the condition that you're in as you're going through this divorce is going to impact everything that comes ahead and all the big decisions that you have to make. So you got to go through it and you got to have a space to do it. And yes, it's here in the intuitive divorce, in our sacred groups, in our coaching, in our teachings, in our tools and our tips and our strategies, in our witnessing you, in all your messiness and all your feels. And I got to tell you, Joe and I have the best job in the world because every week we get surprised by celebrations and growth. We know it's coming. We just don't control the timeline. And when we see women transforming and we see them healing, when we see one woman just say, I got my power back, and
Oof.
those aren't words.
Mm.
Those aren't just words. She's just not spewing, beautiful Hallmark greeting card taglines. She means it. She embodies it. She feels it. She's in it. She's like back to herself and feeling alive again. And this is a woman that was disheveled and crying and confused and fearful and running in circles. And she just kept showing up. And in a very
Yeah.
short period of time, showing up for herself resulted in this. And it's gorgeous. And so, yes, you want to get really clear about what your attorney's role is. Your attorney's role is to get you divorced. They're not your support pillow. you know, and as Joe so perfectly stated, it's not that they're bad people, but that's not their job. That's not their job. And it's just so you want to get really clear about your communication there, right? And then even with your ex, this is a biggie. We moved into communication with the ex, and it's like, this is the easiest place to get triggered. This is the place, this is definitely the place to put the pause button on, you
Yeah.
know? So and also to harness the intel that you know about this person. You've been married to this person. So you get to decide, you know, I know this about him or her, and I know that this is not going to be well received, or this is going to be particularly triggering, or I could say it this way or that way. Harness that intel and incorporate that. This is not the place. If you want to keep going tit for tat and fighting, then you're just going to stay embroiled in that and you're going to go nowhere. So this is
Right.
really why you want to stop attaching to the outcome of how they're going to respond to something and just show up in the best way you can show up to say what needs to be said, to convey what needs to be conveyed, and to keep it moving.
Yeah.
But
You
that,
always say it so beautifully, Kristen, when you really advise, stick to the facts. It's like, it's not the place for the tit for tat. And always remember what you're fighting for. You're fighting for your freedom. You're fighting for your children. You're fighting for a better life. And so engaging in that way is not creating the outcome of what you're fighting for. So it's so important to really communicate facts and only stick to facts. Set a really strong boundary with yourself, one of my favorite words, and stick to it about what you are and aren't willing to communicate around. And then what you respond to. That's the other thing, because you got to let them do them. We talk about that all the time, but you get a choice in how you respond. And that's where the power comes from.
you
That's
know what
where women
also,
show up and go, I got my power back
yeah.
because they took it back.
Well, and you know what happens, and I think this is what one of the reasons that women get derailed so often in this communication realm is because they have been unheard. So now it's like when they finally get to the point where they just can't take it anymore, and I want a divorce and I want out, it's like, "Meh, I'm going to be heard." But it's like you got to be discerning. You've got to be discerning about where you're going to put your energy. What are the things that you're going to say? What's the intention? And also, like, how does it feel in my body? How does it feel to communicate in this way? To communicate with my attorney this way, or to communicate with my ex in this way, or to communicate with my children this way, or to communicate with my family.
Or
We
to
talked about
communicate with myself
myself. Oh my
this
God,
way.
it's the number one.
Yeah.
That's probably the most overlooked one. How
Mhm.
many, and we're constantly sort of like rerouting women who are stuck in fear. And it's real. Like change is hard. Fear, the fear of the unknown. We get it. 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 But you can get stuck there. That can be like cinder blocks on your ankles. We always remind you, okay, yeah, I'm afraid. I'm afraid. A lot of fear is coming up. I'm afraid of the unknown. I'm afraid how I'm going to support myself. I'm afraid of X, Y, and Z. But what if it works out? We get so like tethered to that limited thinking of the worst case scenario or
Mhm.
the worst possible outcome that we
Yeah.
forget that there could be, and I could do this, or this can happen, or, it's really this really getting clear about self-talk. What is the
Yeah.
self-talk?
We talked a lot today about where you put your focus and attention. So
Hmm.
rather than putting your focus and attention on all the things that can go wrong, start to put your focus and attention on all the things that could go right and
Hmm.
what's possible when you get to the other side. And it is
Hmm.
amazing what happens with how you feel, with the energy that you're putting out,
Hmm.
with what you magnetize towards you, all those things. So beautiful conversations today. I thought it was really powerful class, and it was so funny. We got to laugh. We got to actually dance today. With one of our mamas, and it's just it's serious, it's hard, there's sadness, there's tears, there's anger, there's every spectrum, and there's joy and celebration and dancing and all the things, and it's just why I love this group so
and
much.
especially the reflection, the celebrations and the
Mm,
joy. It's such medicine
yeah,
because when one woman in the group sees where another woman has gotten to, who might be a little bit further ahead in the process, she sees a reflection of herself in that. And she can lean in and say, you know what? That's possible for me too. I want what she's having. I want to be
yeah,
over there. And that is just a beautiful thing. Listen, you do the work, you're going to heal.
that's
That's
right.
just the bottom line. You show up for yourself. You get really clear. You harness the power of your awareness. You are going to move the needle. You're not only going to move the needle in your life, you're going to move the needle in your divorce, you're going to move the needle in your children's lives, you're going to move the needle in your future.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because I was going to say it's not just you. Look at the ripple effect that gets to happen once you get to the other side. You are literally shifting your life, your children's life, and their children's life for generations to come. It's huge. So the ripple effect is
Excuse me. Yeah.
huge.
It's also
Yeah.
I always come back to this, and I'm so grateful to you for having brought in the power of the nervous system and regulating the nervous system. And now, while it's something that we talk about, and we've always stressed about self-care and breathing and grounding and meditating and finding modalities that resonate with you, this has really become a big part of the program. And we really see the merit of it in the transformation of the women who are leaning into this and showing up for this and really making massive strides.
It's beautiful when you start to have a relationship with your body because you learn that there's so much self-trust there.
Mhm.
And when you get to show up as the calmest person in the room, there's so much power there.
Hmm.
So it's,
Well, when you're
you can't bypass it.
exactly, and when you're calm and you're quiet and your body is still, guess what? You hear your intuition. You hear yourself, you're connected to yourself, and you can then make informed decisions. You can check in. And this is also like bringing in, I mean, this is communication brings in so many things, right? So, even for example, communication with people, your family and your friends, and people always want updates on what's going on in the divorce and tell us everything. And in the beginning, that might feel really good because you just want to let me tell you what's going on. And then there actually comes a point, and I love, and I see this happen with a lot of women, and I know they're ready to make another growth spurt. They finally get to the point where it's just like, I'm done talking about this. I'm sick of being the victim. I don't want to be, they're recognizing, I don't want to talk about this all the time. I always advise women, take a day off from the divorce. Divorce is going to play on for a while. So you know what your children need? Your best self. They need you. They need time with you. They need your presence. How do you do that? Get grounded, get calm, laugh, have fun, play with them. That's going to be the best medicine for both of you. Take a day off of divorcing.
Yeah,
World's not going to stop.
that's right. A timeout.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we were
Yeah.
literally talking to a mom who's feeling very, very overwhelmed. Totally understandable. These women are, high-powered professionals, and they are women hear me roar, and they're also like depleted, drained, and frazzled. And we've all been there, right? You think you got to get 9 million things done in one day, and she just was feeling really, really deflated today. So we just talked to her about the simplicity of what could we take off your plate today? What could you do to honor yourself? How could you squeeze in a little 20-minute cat nap? What is it for you? What is it that you need? And just kind of helped her like reroute and honor herself and realize like, oh, I am making myself nuts here. Like thinking I have to do all these things and show up for all these things. We
Mhm.
can't show up for all the things all the time. Got to show
Yeah.
up for self first.
Yeah, it's a story that, high achieving women tend to tell themselves is that the world will stop spinning if I stop doing. And at the end of the day, it's just not true.
Yeah.
And so if you aren't rested, if you aren't taking care of yourself, you can't show up for anyone as your best self. That's so important. I love that you brought that back in. Yeah,
It was just a juicy class. It was just
it sure
wonderful.
was.
Yeah. I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you,
Same.
my wonderful friend and wonderful coach. And I just am so thankful for everything you bring to the mamas in our group, your sage wisdom and heart and love. And we're also so grateful that you're here because we know that you are navigating a lot and this is not easy. And it's really easy to be triggered. But we really want you to know you're not alone. We love what we do. Check us out at intuitivedivorce.com. We have tons of tips and strategies and newsletters and podcasts and you name it, it's over there. We'll be starting a membership site soon, and I'm writing a book, and Joe's got amazing programs. We've got lots of stuff to support you. So, you know what? Support yourself.
Mhm.
Support yourself. Check in, get still, get quiet, figure out what is it that you need today in this moment. Forget the endless to-do list. You're never going to check everything off that to-do list anyway. Cut yourself some slack. Give yourself permission to enjoy this day. Divorce or no divorce.
Yeah, you gave beautiful advice today. What if your only job today was just to love yourself?
Did I say
Just
that?
to do what feels good for you today. You
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
Well, I think that's good medicine for everyone. I literally think that that's good medicine for everyone. And so, and by the way, these women are resourceful. They are calling in from their cars. They are calling in from libraries. They are calling in from offices. They are calling in from closets. Like you name it, they get resourceful about showing up for this. And they are the women that are moving the needle. And one of them had us hysterical laughing today because she was in the library in New York City, but she got up and she was talking about the metaphor of like taking the Wonder Woman stance, the Wonder Woman stance where she's like doing the transformative, like the spiral.
Mhm.
And we all started laughing and we are like, because you're really having, Bill actually mentioned when you're having a really bad day, you're feeling really deflated. It's like your whole posture is like, like this. And it's like, she was like, no, Wonder Woman, see yourself as Wonder Woman. Remember who you are, what you've
Mm,
already accomplished.
yes.
And as I always say, you birth babies. If you could birth human beings, you got this. Like, remember who you are, nurture yourself, remember who you are. And you know what? You're also allowed to have a little fun and you can laugh. So when we ended our class and everybody stood up and did their Wonder Woman, stance, it was just a beautiful way to connect and laugh and leave, like you said, leave the room, leave the class more filled. My cup was filled, my heart was filled than when I started. And that is honoring self. So more of that for you, mamas.
Yes. And we get the honor of being along for the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want to come on the ride, you want to hitch onto this train,
Join
check us
us.
out. Yeah, come join us. Don't miss the party.
That's right.
All right, sending you all love,
Thank
and
you.
we'll see you next week.
Bye.